The thing about Elon Musk is that he became the richest man on the planet because he's able to solve problems that no one else has been able to solve. But there's one problem that he just can't seem to solve despite how bad he wants to. And that's the same problem that all of us need to find an answer to in order for us to have happy and fulfilling lives. The question that he's stuck on is, what's the meaning of his life? And the reason why his quest for meaning has been so difficult and so disappointing is something that I think that a lot of people can relate to. In multiple interviews, Elon has talked about how at a young age, he had feelings of dread attached to questions about his life having any meaning, value, or purpose.
I had this existential crisis when I was a kid and tried to figure out what's it all about, and none of the books I read seemed to actually have a good answer. So I read all the religious texts and I read a bunch of philosophy books, and they're all quite depressing.
So after feeling as though he couldn't find these answers in religion or philosophy, he eventually concluded that he should look elsewhere for those answers that he desperately craved.
If we don't really know what the meaning of life is, or even really what the right questions are to ask, but if we can improve our understanding of the universe, then eventually we can figure out what the right question to ask is. If it's not meaning of life, it's something.
So now, as you just heard, he determined that if he were ever to find the answer to the question of the meaning of life, or even to understand the question correctly, he would need to study the universe in order to do so. And this is what actually led him into his future career as a scientist. But since his studies about the universe haven't led him any closer to that answer yet, it seems as though he may have done what most of us do when we can't find meaning for our lives. We either try to find it by looking inside to see who we really are and try to live that out in the world, or else we simply create it by devoting ourselves to something greater.
Well, I don't really worship anything, but I do devote myself to the advancement of humanity using technology.
But as he revealed on Twitter, having devoted his life to this created meaning hasn't been enough to curb the depression. When asked about his mental health, he said, "The reality is great highs, terrible lows, and unrelenting stress." Don't think people want to hear about the last two. And then after that, someone asked him if he was bipolar, and he said, "Yeah, maybe not though medically, don't know. Bad feelings correlate to bad events, so maybe the real problem is getting carried away in what I sign up for." So even though Musk is a genius, a master problem solver, and as of 2020, he's the richest man on the entire planet, it seems as he discovered what most of us do if we're able to achieve our dreams. And that's, if we count on our created meaning in order to make us happy, then it will ultimately just disappoint us and leave us depressed. We'll get to why that is here in a bit, but the question for now is, will Elon's quest for meaning be satisfied if he's successful in learning enough about the universe? Well, although I'm admittedly no genius and I probably only know a fraction of what Elon knows about the universe, I still can confidently say that, unfortunately, I don't think it's possible for Elon to find what he's looking for by exploring the universe. The reason why is because when we ask about meaning, meaning is a why question that can only be answered by minds and not a how question that can be answered by science. Think of it this way. If I were to come to your child's birthday party and I wanted to know the meaning and purpose of the birthday cake sitting on the table, how far do you think I would get by studying the physical aspects of the cake? Would I get any closer by examining the ingredients or the chemical compositions? I don't think so. In fact, I could study the physical attributes of that cake for all of eternity and never get any closer to understanding the meaning that the birthday cake has for your child or the reason for why the cake was made in the first place. That's because I would be asking the wrong question by assuming that the answer could be found by studying the cake. And as Elon stated so well,
and if you can properly phrase the question, then the answer is the easy part.
And I agree with them on that. If I phrase the question surrounding what is the meaning of the cake in a way that I can only look at it scientifically, then I'm asking the wrong question. Instead, my question should be framed in the context of searching for the person or the mind that created it. The closer I can get to finding the mind that created it, the closer I can get to learning the true meaning of the cake. And the reason why it's so difficult for Elon to find the answer to the question of what the meaning for his life is because he's asking the question from the wrong context. Everything on this planet that has meaning, its meaning came from someone with a mind. Things only have meaning because minds gave them their meaning. So if Elon wants to know the objective meaning of life, and if he ever hopes to get the right answers, then he needs to first seek out the mind that created life. If we were created by an ultimate mind, such as God, then this means that we won't ever be completely fulfilled trying to find our meaning inside of the universe, inside of ourselves, or by creating our own meaning for ourselves. We won't be completely fulfilled in the long run because we won't weren't designed to get our meaning from those places. Any truly fulfilling meaning can only come from discovering our meaning and how we were created to function according to that meaning. And even further, if Christianity is true, which of course I believe that it is, then it makes sense as to why we function best when we follow biblical principles. And this has even been stated by people like Joe Rogan, who by no means is a fan of Christianity, but he still recently talked about how much better our lives would be if everyone started following the teachings of Christ. I talk about what Rogan said in this video, so go ahead and click here to find out what I mean. But the next time you find yourself looking for your meaning and purpose in all of the wrong places, what are you gonna say? What do you mean?